Hello, welcome to OJ Studios. Please enjoy this week's short story, The Basketball Bet, by Olivia Julius. It was one of those lazy Saturdays where nothing was happening. No school, no chores, no plans. Just boredom. I was over at Emily's house because, honestly, there wasn't anything better to do. My mom had some kind of Zoom meeting marathon, and Emily had texted me earlier like, "Come over before I die of boredom." So I did. Now we were both flopped on opposite ends of her couch, staring at the ceiling like it might suddenly show a movie or something. "We could watch something," Emily suggested without much enthusiasm. "We already scrolled Netflix for like 20 minutes, I said, resting the back of my head on her armrest. "There's nothing good." She sighed. "Wanna bake something? You wanna turn the oven on when it's 100 degrees outside?" "Fair." Another long silence. Outside, the sun was so bright it made the edges of the curtains glow. Her dog snored from under the table. Somewhere in the kitchen, a fly buzzed like even it was tired of this day. "We need to do something dumb," Emily said, sitting up suddenly. I raised an eyebrow. "Define dumb." She gave me a mischievous grin, the kind that usually means I'm about to agree to something I'll definitely regret later. "Just something weird. Something we'll remember." That's when I knew I should have come up with an excuse to stay home. Emily's eyes lit up like she'd just thought of something brilliant. Dangerous, but brilliant. "What if we made a bet?" she said, leaning forward, elbows on her knees. "Oh no," I said immediately. "The last time we made a bet, I ended up eating 3 spoonfuls of mustard." She grinned. "You survived." "Barely. This one's better. More stylish." That made me sit up. "Stylish?" Emily stood up and walked over to the corner of the living room where her basketball was leaning against the wall. She picked it up and bounced it once. "1-on-1. First to 5. If I win, you have to wear a dress." I blinked. "What? A dress? Like, full outfit? Just for a little while? Maybe an hour?" She shrugged like it was nothing. "It's not a big deal." I scoffed, but I could feel a smile trying to sneak across my face. "You don't even wear dresses." "I do," she said, spinning the ball on her finger. "Like, for weddings and picture day and stuff. My mom makes me keep a few for special occasions." I laughed. "Wait, you? Miss climbing trees and beating me at dodgeball owns dresses?" She tossed the ball to me. "They're buried in the back of my closet. But they exist." "That's wild." "I know, right?" I rolled the ball between my hands and raised an eyebrow. "Okay, but if I win, you have to wear one of those dresses. And I mean full outfit. No sneakers, no shortcuts." Emily snorted. "Deal." We stood and stared at each other for a second, the challenge hanging in the air. Then I grinned. "Prepare to lose, Emily." She shot back, "We'll see about that, Alexandra." I groaned. "You did not just call me that." She winked. "Better get used to it." Emily grabbed her sneakers from the door, laced them up in record time, and jogged out to the driveway. I followed, bouncing the ball at my side, already feeling that weird mix of confidence and dread that always shows up when we turn anything into a competition. The sun hit my face as soon as I stepped outside. Her driveway was cracked in a few places and sloped slightly toward the street, but we played on it a dozen times before. The hoop above the garage was slightly bent from where her cousin once hung from it during a 4th of July barbecue. "First to 5, Emily reminded me, tugging her ponytail tight. "Got it," I said, tossing the ball to her. "Ladies first." She smirked and checked the ball to me. "Game on?" I started dribbling slow, trying to fake her out with a lazy bounce to the left before cutting hard to the right. But Emily didn't bite, she was already there, crouched low, arms wide. "Nice try," she said, stepping into my path. I pivoted, spun, and fired up a shot from just inside the key. Clang! The ball hit the front of the rim and bounced back. Emily snagged the rebound and took off. Her turn! She dribbled fast, low to the ground, one hand tight on the ball while the other fended me off. I stayed with her, forcing her left, her weaker side, but she juked me at the last second and tossed up a quick layup. Swish! 1-0, she said, grinning as she backpedaled. I let you have that one, I muttered. She rolled her eyes. Sure you did. We kept going, me trying to use my height, her using her speed. She darted around me like a mosquito I couldn't quite swat. I managed to tie it up at 2-2 after a nice fake that had her turning the wrong way. Alright, I said, catching my breath. Game time! We were both sweating now, the summer sun making the ball slippery and the pavement feel like a stovetop. I dribbled slow again, baiting her into overcommitting. She lunged. I crossed over, stepped back, and let the ball fly. Boom! Swish! 3-2, me! Emily narrowed her eyes. You're going down? She was all business now, quick cuts, tight dribbles, fierce determination. She sank 2 shots in a row before I could even blink. Suddenly it was 4-3, her lead. I felt the pressure building in my chest, one more point, and I'd be Alexandra for the afternoon. I wiped my hands on my shirt and squared up. My last chance. I dribbled left, my stronger side, and pulled up for the shot. And, too strong! It bounced off the backboard and spun out. Emily grabbed the rebound, dashed to the free throw line, and jumped. Time slowed. I leapt too, arms stretched out. But the ball floated just out of reach. Swish! Game! Over! She held her arms up like she'd just won the NBA Finals. Yes! That's 5! I stared at her, wide-eyed. You've got to be kidding me! She tossed the ball aside and skipped toward the front door. Come on, Alexandra! Let's go find your dress! I stood there in the driveway, hands on my hips, still catching my breath while Emily did a little victory dance. I still think you cheated, I muttered. Emily just smirked and pointed toward the house. Come on, Alexandra! It's time! Ugh! I groaned, dragging my feet after her like I was walking toward my doom. This better not involve sparkles. Inside, Emily led me straight to her room and flung open the closet door with a dramatic flourish. Behold, she said, the royal wardrobe. Inside, shoved to the far side behind soccer jerseys and hoodies, were 3 dresses. They looked like they hadn't seen daylight in years. The first one was dark blue and pretty simple, just a plain dress with short sleeves and a sash. The second was light green, kind of frilly, but nothing too terrifying. Then there was the third one. It was pink. Not just regular pink, bubblegum, cotton candy, princess party pink. Covered in lace, ruffles, and little embroidered flowers, with a ribbon bow tied at the waist and puffed sleeves that screamed I was made to be twirled in. Emily reached straight for it. No! Nope! Absolutely not! Pick literally anything else, I said, taking a step back like the dress might bite me. This one's the most fun, she said, grinning as she held it up against me. Plus, it'll match your personality. My personality is allergic to bows, I said flatly. She laughed and tossed it on the bed. Oh, don't worry, there's more. Before I could escape, she disappeared into her closet again and came out with a pair of white tights. I stared at them like they were cursed. You can't be serious! You want the full outfit or not? She said, her eyes glinting with wicked amusement. White tights are non-negotiable. It's about commitment, Alex. I sighed dramatically. Fine. And shoes? She reached under her bed and pulled out a pair of white Mary Janes with little straps across the top. These will fit. Mostly, I've made a huge mistake, I mumbled, but I sat on the edge of her bed anyway, peeling off my sneakers and socks like a prisoner getting ready for sentencing. By the time I stood up in the full outfit, puffy sleeves, ruffly skirt, tights clinging awkwardly to my legs, and shiny shoes that clicked on her bedroom floor, Emily was nearly in tears from laughing. You look amazing, she wheezed, holding up her phone like she was about to take 100 pictures. I folded my arms. "You're lucky I'm a good sport." "Oh no," she said, barely able to contain her grin. "You haven't even seen yourself in the mirror yet." And that's when I knew, I was in deep. I stood there in the driveway, hands on my hips, still catching my breath while Emily did a little victory dance. "I still think you cheated," I muttered. Emily just smirked and pointed toward the house. "Come on, Alexandra! It's time!" "Ugh," I groaned, dragging my feet after her like I was walking toward my doom. "This better not involve sparkles." Inside, Emily led me straight to her room and flung open the closet door with a dramatic flourish. "Behold," she said, "the royal wardrobe." Inside, shoved to the far side behind soccer jerseys and hoodies, were 3 dresses. They looked like they hadn't seen daylight in years. The first one was dark blue and pretty simple, just a plain dress with short sleeves and a sash. The second was light green, kind of frilly, but nothing too terrifying. Then there was the third one. It was pink. Not just regular pink, bubblegum, cotton candy, princess party pink. Covered in lace, ruffles, and little embroidered flowers, with a ribbon bow tied at the waist and puffed sleeves that screamed I was made to be twirled in. Emily reached straight for it. "No! Nope! Absolutely not! Pick literally anything else," I said, taking a step back like the dress might bite me. "This one's the most fun," she said, grinning as she held it up against me. "Plus, it'll match your personality." "My personality is allergic to bows," I said flatly. She laughed and tossed it on the bed. "Oh, don't worry, there's more." Before I could escape, she disappeared into her closet again and came out with a pair of white tights. I stared at them like they were cursed. "You can't be serious! You want the full outfit or not?" she said, her eyes glinting with wicked amusement. "White tights are non-negotiable. It's about commitment, Alex." I sighed dramatically. "Fine. And shoes?" She reached under her bed and pulled out a pair of white Mary Janes with little straps across the top. "These will fit. Mostly, I've made a huge mistake," I mumbled, but I sat on the edge of her bed anyway, peeling off my sneakers and socks like a prisoner getting ready for sentencing. Emily tossed the dress onto her bed like it was the grand prize, then handed me the tights and shoes like they were part of some cursed costume kit. "You can change in the bathroom," she said sweetly, but her eyes were practically glowing with mischief. I groaned, taking the bundle of pink fluff and accessories. "If I don't come back in 10 minutes, assume the dress consumed me." She just laughed and pointed down the hall. Inside the bathroom, I locked the door and stared at myself in the mirror for a long second. My reflection looked exactly how I felt, nervous, skeptical, and deeply unsure about what I was about to do. I set everything down on the counter and started with the tights. I'd never worn tights before. They looked harmless, but pulling them on felt like wrestling with a stretchy, clingy snake. I sat on the toilet lid and awkwardly bunched them up, trying to figure out which leg was which. The fabric was smooth and cool, but super snug, like it wanted to be part of my skin. Once I finally got both legs in, I stood and tugged the waistband up. It felt weird. Not bad, just weird. My knees looked way shinier than usual, and I kept expecting the tights to sag or twist, but they stayed firmly in place, hugging every inch of my legs. "Okay," I muttered to myself, "that was the easy part. I think." The dress was next. I lifted the pink thing off the counter and let it unfold in front of me. Up close, it looked even girlier, layers of ruffly tulle, delicate lace along the sleeves and hem, a satin ribbon across the waist. The puffed sleeves were like little clouds at the shoulders, and the whole thing smelled faintly like lavender fabric softener. Slipping it over my head was surprisingly easy. The bodice fit snugly, but not tight, and the skirt flared out with every little movement I made. When I smoothed it down, it felt like I was brushing icing on a birthday cake. Then came the shoes. White Mary Janes, glossy and unfamiliar. I had to fumble with the straps a bit before they clicked into place. When I finally stood up, the soles made a soft, hollow tapping sound against the tile floor. I stared at myself in the mirror. I didn't look like me. I looked like a weird cross between a ballerina, a flower girl, and someone who lost a bet. My face was still mine, short brown hair, skeptical eyes, but everything else was straight out of a fancy kid's wedding. I took a deep breath, adjusted the skirt one more time, and opened the bathroom door. Emily was waiting in the hallway. The second she saw me, she doubled over, laughing so hard she had to hold onto the wall. "Why, you look amazing," she wheezed between giggles. "Like a real little princess! Oh my gosh!" I folded my arms, trying to look unimpressed, which only made her laugh harder. "You're lucky I'm a good sport," I muttered, heat rising to my face. "Oh no," she said, catching her breath and wiping her eyes. "You haven't even seen yourself in the big mirror yet." She pointed to the full-length mirror in her room. And that's when I knew, I was in deep. Really, really deep. Emily practically dragged me down the hall, my dress swishing with every reluctant step. "You walk like it's made of lava," she said, giggling. "That's because it feels like I'm wearing a wedding cake," I grumbled, adjusting the poofy sleeves for the 100th time. The tights clung like a second skin, and the Mary Janes clicked dramatically against the hardwood floor like they were announcing me to the world. "Can't we just stay inside where no one can see me?" "Nope! This is a full transformation experience," she declared. "That means sunshine, fresh air, and possibly the neighbors." "The neighbors?" I stopped dead in the entryway. "I'm joking," she said, but not convincingly. Then she opened the front door. The summer sun hit me full force, and I instantly became aware of just how pink and frilly I looked. Emily bounced down the steps like she didn't have a care in the world, holding the basketball under one arm. I stepped outside slowly, trying not to trip on the hem of the dress as the skirt flounced around my legs. The tights made every tiny breeze feel way more dramatic than it should have. We were barely halfway to the driveway hoop when a car pulled into the driveway. Emily froze, then looked over her shoulder. "Oh no," she said. "It's my mom." "What?" I turned so fast the skirt flared like a bell. "Get me inside, now!" Too late. The driver's door opened, and Emily's mom stepped out, holding a grocery bag in one hand and a confused look on her face. Her eyes landed on me instantly. She blinked, then looked at Emily, then back at me. There was a pause. A long, quiet, awkward pause. And then she smiled. "Well," she said, raising an eyebrow. "I never thought I'd see the day. Someone actually wears that dress." Emily groaned. "Mom!" Her mom just laughed and set the grocery bag on the hood of the car. "That's the one I made you try on for Aunt Kelly's wedding, remember? You hated it so much you hid it behind your soccer bag." "It's pink!" Emily protested. I stood there, frozen, a frilly pink statue of doom. Emily's mom turned to me, a twinkle in her eye. "It actually looks cute on you! Much better than the temper tantrum it got last time I saw it." My face went nuclear. "Thanks, I think." She grinned as she picked the bag back up. "Don't let her trick you into wearing the green one next. That one has sequins." Then she disappeared into the house like this was all perfectly normal. I turned to Emily slowly. "You've done this before?" "Once," she muttered. "It was traumatic." "Good," I said. "Now we're even?" Emily and I shot hoops for a while, though playing basketball in a poofy pink dress and tights was about as ridiculous as it sounds. The skirt bounced every time I moved, and the shoes clicked against the pavement like I was performing a dance instead of guarding the lane. "I feel like a ballerina doing a sports commercial," I said after missing my 5th shot in a row. "You look fabulous," Emily teased, catching the rebound and grinning like she'd just won the lottery. "Graceful, even." Lies. We both laughed, the kind of laugh that comes from being totally ridiculous and not caring anymore. Eventually, we collapsed on the grass, staring up at the sky while I tried to keep the dress from puffing into my face. "You know," I said, still breathing hard, "this isn't exactly how I pictured my Saturday." "Oh really? You didn't expect to find your inner princess?" I turned my head and gave her a look. I don't think I have an inner princess. She shrugged. Well, you wore the dress. That counts for something. We were quiet for a moment. A breeze picked up, ruffling the lace at my sleeves and tugging at Emily's hair. You weren't half bad, she said. And you didn't chicken out. I smiled. Yeah. I guess it wasn't the end of the world. Exactly. Clothes are just clothes. But good friends? They make everything better. I looked down at the dress, at the white tights stretched across my legs, at the silly shoes I was still wearing, and then I laughed. Not because I was embarrassed, but because it was funny. Because she was right. Thanks for letting me borrow your humiliation wardrobe, I said. Anytime, Alexandra. I groaned, but I didn't really mind. Later that evening, I finally changed back into my regular clothes. Jeans had never felt so normal. But I caught myself looking in the mirror just one more time before I pulled the dress off, just to remember what it felt like to try something that weird, that bold, that different. And maybe next time, if Emily challenges me again, I'll think twice before saying yes. But then again, maybe not. Because honestly, it made for one heck of a Saturday.